Hello Canadian gardeners, cold climate gardeners, and gardeners of the extremes. How are you guys doing today? If you're new around here, my name is Ashley and I'm a soil scientist. On this channel I like to take that science, apply it to all things gardening, but also plant care. So if you like the sounds of that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, give this video a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments if you are a container gardener or if you are a raised bed, flower bed. I'd love to hear what my audience is mostly entertaining to grow either their flowers or their vegetables. So today I'm going to be showing you how to store a plethora of different pots, especially geared towards cold climate folks that are getting below that 0 degrees Celsius and into the freezing range. So if you are new at this and you haven't went through one winter yet, or if you're a seasoned vet, you know that pots crack in the winter. Winter pots do not mix. So you do have to do some special prep and some special storage to ensure your pots last a long time into the future. So we are going to be going over metal pots, hanging baskets, terracottas, ceramic, I guess, glazed ceramic, and then also a giant plastic pot, just to kind of show you exactly how I store them. It varies a little bit different from each pot, and the reason being is because it essentially has to do with your soil expansion and, you know, how much water is in your soil. So we're going to go through all that, and yeah, I'll put some timestamps down below if you just want to skip to the pots that you mostly have in your yard, but I'm literally just going to go through the stack because I can start digging out one after another. So first one is going to be your metal pots. Now, a common issue that you find in metal pots if you don't store them properly is they tend to snap along the seams. The seams tend to bust out. Another issue you may find is actually rust, and that will just happen naturally over time, but you can kind of alleviate it or prevent it a little bit. Now, you can see that the plant in here is very dead, but I also want to show you something else. The soil is very dry, and so what I do, I just have a pool in front of me. I like to store my soil in a pool over winter. The reason being is it actually gets rid of any bug eggs because the pool is not insulating at all, and so it actually will really get hit hard with frost, and it actually helps me quite a bit to kill off any kind of pest that I have, both fungi, bacterial, or insects. So inside of this pot I have very dry soil. If I left this soil in here very bone dry, it would be okay throughout the winter. Nothing would happen. I wouldn't get any splits. If your soil is wet or moist before the first frost and you don't see it drying up anytime soon, because say maybe the plants inside got whacked with frost and they died off, I do suggest dumping it out, and it's simply for the fact that it will crack along these seams here. The other thing, I would dump out your soil if you do not have holes or you haven't made holes in the bottom. That again has to do with the fact that it will split if in the spring you have a freeze-thaw cycle where things are raining, or, you know, stuff is starting to, the snow is starting to melt and then it freezes, etc. and so forth, and the water has nowhere to go. So I like to dump it out, and like I said, it's very dry. And for these guys, you can just leave them outside. You don't have to put them in a sheltered space at all. They tend to do just fine in the great outdoors. You can put them in a shed, you can kind of put them under a gazebo, whatever your choice is, but they are fine just sitting out naturally. The next one is our hanging basket, and when your plants are at this stage, it's also a very good idea to actually save some seeds. I'm going to do a seed saving video, but I encourage you to literally take seeds off of any of your plants, regardless of what they are, if you think you can get them to germinate or not. And so yeah, you're just going to take off these very crusty looking flower structures, snap them off, take quite a bit with you, and then use a very high-tech method. Incredibly expensive, but also very effective, a Ziploc bag. So I know, I don't get fancy here. So literally just rip it off. You can take as much foliage with you as you want, it doesn't really matter. And pop that in there. I will set that off to the side. I actually really like the plant that was in here, the flower that was in here. So now for the hanging baskets, mine has the moss or the peat moss liner in it. And for the liner, you can leave those in, and you can actually leave them full with soil. I find if you leave them full of soil, then they hold their shape a lot better. In the spring, it's not as difficult to try to fold them back into place. But I do encourage you, at a minimum, to kind of get out as much of the foliage as possible and take them off the hooks. The snow will snap these chains or bend them out of whack in a lot of cases. So you do want to get rid of the hook, and but you do want to leave some soil in there. So whether it's a pair of scissors or you just tugging and pulling, try to get some of that foliage out. So this is kind of what my hanging basket looks like now. This is all I leave in. I don't put new soil in it at all at this point. You kind of want that root bound formed soil just because it's going to help it, again, hold its shape throughout the winter. This, I suggest kind of putting in a slightly sheltered area. Depending on how intricate or gentle your pattern is on the side, it will bend, and how the cost of the pot as well. They will bend if the snow piles up on them, but you can stack these one on top of another. These guys do not stack because they will, again, expand potentially and snap along those seams. Okay, so our next one is the terracotta pot, and these are infamous for cracking. So this was my basil that I harvested out of this guy. So what you need to do here is you actually need to remove the soil entirely, because regardless, I find regardless if it is moist, dry, what kind of soil in there, it doesn't seem to matter too much. It all seems to still crack. So you do want to remove all the soil out of this, and you do want to store it in a sheltered space, and you do not want to stack them together. Terracotta pots definitely shrink and stuff a lot. You do not want to stack them, but you do want to remove the soil. So he is out, and I like to stack them upside down, so I store them like this, and it seems to work fabulously. So our last one is this glazed ceramic, and these ones are notorious for cracking, and they're very expensive, so I don't blame anyone for not wanting them to crack. So with these guys, you can remove all the soil. I do find if you remove all the soil that they tend to crack, but I also find that if you leave it full of soil, especially moist or wet soil, they definitely do crack. So with these guys, what I like to do is take out about half of the soil from the pot, and that seems to be enough that it doesn't collapse on itself and crack, but it doesn't expand on itself and crack, and it's just kind of a happy medium. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm about half full with this, and again, you do not want to stack to store these, and you do want to put them in a sheltered place, obviously, because there's dirt in it. You can't flip them upside down, so you do want to put them in a shed or a garage or something of that sort. And then last but not least, the infamous plastic pots, and these do not survive well in Canada whatsoever. You're going to get discoloration, you're going to get cracks, kind of regardless of what you do, but I find the best way to store them is actually with soil in, and the reason for that, I think, is because they expand. Obviously that can cause cracking, but if I just empty it again about halfway and then I store them in a sheltered area where they don't get bumped, that seems to be majority of the issue with the plastic pots, is actually when they get bumped in the cold, they tend to break. So if I can put them in a space where they're not going to get knocked around too badly, then that seems to work best for me. But I'm going to empty this essentially halfway and then store it, not stack it, in a space where it's not going to get bumped by dogs or humans or anything else crazy, snowfall, things like that. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Tell me if you have any ideas on how you store your pots, if you had busted pots and what you think caused it. I'd love to hear your ideas. I actually have a huge issue with these rims, like these lips on my plastic pots busting all the time. They seem to get really brittle and weak in the winter, and maybe there's not a fix for that. Maybe that's just the life of a Canadian or a cold climate gardener. I'll never be able to save my lips on my pots, but if you have any ideas on how I could save the lips on my pots, that'd be really, really cool, because the pot is entirely fine. I'm literally just cracking this after a few years, and I mean, they're inexpensive, but they're not like hugely cheap either. Like, I don't want to replace them every year, you know what I mean? I want to thank you guys for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.